That's an island.
Going on. Twice, it's, we still got 2 minutes. I love it. Good job.
We're late.
Or something.
It's IT or technical problem.
Knock it out. Your computer say.
I think we might.
And just your phone probably.
Yep. Well, it is 6 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Burnett County Board of Adjustment meeting on July 7th. Notice was posted in accordance to Wisconsin statute 19.84 open meeting law. At this time, I'll ask the secretary to please read the notice of public hearing.
Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Monday, July 7th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Burnett County Government Center in room 165, Town of Meenan, Siren, Wisconsin, regarding the following. Variance 2508, Nature North Holdings LLC. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Meenan, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Jesse Shearer, on behalf of Nature North Holdings LLC, has made an application relative to a proposal to vary the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreland Protection Code of Ordinances as follows. To rebuild 4 cabins, reposition one of these cabins, and to construct a garage addition to the main dwelling on a parcel that is non-conforming for dwelling density on Clam Lake at 6462 State Road 70 in the RR1 zoning district parcel in Government Lot 3, Section 35, 39, 16. Variance 2509 Schwab. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Sand Lake, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Richard Schwab has made an application relative to a proposal to vary the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreland Protection Code of Ordinances as follows. To leave a greenhouse which was constructed without a land use permit, which does not meet the required road driveway setback and does not meet the required side setback. And to leave a carport that was constructed without a land use permit, which does not meet the required road driveway setback. Located at 26912 Hopkins Road in the RR1 zoning district Lot 1, CSM Volume 11, page 252, in Government Lot 12, Section 6, 3915. Variance 2510 Anderson. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Jackson, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Joshua Anderson has made an application relative to a proposal to vary the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreland Protection Code of Ordinances as follows. To leave retaining walls that were constructed without a land use permit, which do not meet the required road setback and which are partially within the road right of way. To leave a patio that was constructed without a land use permit which does not meet the required road setback, and to place a gazebo within the road setback at 284823 Mile Road in the PUD zoning district, lot 79 and 80, Red Wing addition to Voyager Village, section 144015.
Thank you. This time I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda order, or approve the agenda order.
I'll make some motion.
Motion by Schmidt. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
By Campion. All in favor of approving the agenda order, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting procedures. When we call your case, we'll ask that one person come up and present their case. The board may ask you questions. After you are done presenting your case, you can return to your seat and we'll open the public hearing. Each person speaking during the public hearing will be limited to 3 minutes. All comments should be directed towards board members and not the applicant or others in the audience. After the public hearing is closed, the board will deliberate the case and possibly ask the applicant for additional questions. We will likely make a decision tonight. If a decision is made tonight, then the board will sign the decision document at the next meeting. Once that decision is filed, it will start the 30-day appeal window. And at this time, we will call up variance 2508 Nature North Holdings LLC to rebuild 4 cabins, reposition one of these cabins, and to construct a garage addition to the main dwelling. Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Jesse Scheer, the owner of Nature North Holdings.
You want to present your case?
We recently purchased the Whispering Oaks Resort, which has been non-conformed for a handful of years. Lot of damages, cleanup, we've entertained through the last few months since closing on the property. Our goal and our vision is to rebuild, bring a little bit of history back into the Siren community, to the public. With that, we can't follow the 50% rule on 4 of the cabins, so we applied for the variance to rebuild 4 of the existing with repositioning 1 cabin, and then the other 3 cabins would just we'd be able to follow into that footprint as far as just a basic remodel of those. I know another big concern is the septics. I've read on some of those reports too. There's not a whole lot of history, county reports on anything. We would be bringing in new systems, having those drawn and drafted and designed as well, to make everything compliant and operational to the county standards. I will say in addition to that, we do have on there that addition for the garage that would become a storage facility and house mechanicals.
The addition on the garage, would that be at the existing garage that you're adding on?
Nope, there would be a addition garage to the main house that's up by the road now currently, and it's just to the north of that, that would be the storage facility.
30 by 40 storage shed.
Yes, yep.
That's a new construction.
That's a new
Yeah,
construction.
It's
Yeah.
not an addition.
A new office? Nope, that's existing space. Okay. That's what we've turned that into, like a common office area. Okay.
Yeah, because it says new office, but that's an existing.
It's, yeah, as you pull in that driveway, right up to the right there. Yep.
I got a question, just, we talked about, the last time was operational, do we know the date? Last time it was legally under operation? The only thing I found was what the 07 or 08 when the permits for the house were put in there in the paperwork.
I mean, I had someone all 4 or 5 years ago that rented one of the cabins that said it was disgusting. So it must have been,
2003 is what I've heard.
well, that was like 5 years ago, I think. Someone rented at one of those cabins and complained. Now,
Doesn't mean it was.
doesn't mean he had proper state licenses or anything.
No, the ones that you're probably tearing down, you looked in the windows. Yeah. it'd
Yeah,
be
they're pretty. they're
An
pretty
interesting
sparse.
stay, put it that way.
Mhm.
No, the cleanup alone has been it's been a battle too. I mean, it's the amount of garbage that we've hauled out of there and. We've been at it since January 31st as far as cleanup, and I think we've done a pretty good job, noticeable for sure.
Absolutely.
Any other information you want to share at this time or any questions you guys have? Otherwise, we'll open the public hearing and then we can obviously ask again at that time, so.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to go with that.
Appreciate it, Jesse.
Thank you.
This time I'll open the public hearing for variance 2508 Nature North Holdings. Any comments from the public? Anything written besides?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any correspondence.
Hearing no comments, I will close the public hearing. The committee can deliberate amongst themselves, ask further questions if needed.
Is that parcel in floodplain?
There's, if you look at that survey map, there's a floodplain line on the survey, the map that was done by the surveyor. And most of all the buildings are out of the flood.
Okay. This must be up right here.
What's that?
Yeah, it's a jaggedy kind of line there.
It goes right
It goes right around that one cabin.
in a perfect angle. Interesting. But it could have been built. That's the, you know, actually the foundation, it would match that if it was raised.
This is kind of refreshing for me. To see that somebody wants to put an old fashioned resort back into play, doing everything correctly. Which we don't have, you know, anymore. It seems like we have mobile home parks. We don't have resorts where they can take kids and grandkids to and, you know, and it's, I mean, they're not really, they're upgrading everything. Everything's an upgrade. That's why I think it's a wonderful thing.
I agree. Also, I like that it's been cleaned up. It has been an eyesore for decades. Can
We've gotten a lot of compliments.
imagine how much stuff you took out of there.
Even people, like I put gates up just because there was so much activity, but people were stopping it. We just had, two couples stop in. They used to stay there in the 90s and they were really sad to see the condition of it a couple of years ago when they came up. And, you know, a lot of people are excited to, you know, hopefully come back. And, you know, like you said, Brad, I think the families, little kids running around, you know, they think all bars to try and bring that. I grew up in that. And, you know, to be able to bring that, I don't feel that there's much of it around anymore.
There really isn't. There really isn't.
I seen an opportunity and I've been chasing it for about 3.5 years, that property. So I finally had a chance to acquire it. So.
Hope you're doing everything correctly.
Thank you.
The cabins are gonna be basically the same size, same footprint then, is that?
Same footprint, yeah, the four that we tear down, there'd be a slight little change, a little bit higher elevation, but same footprint, small and cute and cozy.
Cool. Like in the staff comments, Jason, there was some conditional use permit, short-term rental permit, stuff like that.
Yeah, it kind of depends on which route he's gonna go with operation.
Okay.
Yep.
Whether it's weekly or nightly or some of
Yep,
that kind
all
of stuff,
that
I
type of
suppose.
stuff,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't personally see any issues with any of this. I think
Well,
it's a wonderful thing.
yeah, I agree with Brad on some of it, just like I just had to cover all the thoughts and processes. Like I said, it's currently RR1 with which you stayed in there that you, with the 350 feet, you could do 2 normal lots on. Are we in this process? Would it be a zoning change or the variance in that RR1? If it were to be the resort with 8 habitable structures, which is what would be.
It's a variance in the RR one, essentially. They don't have enough land or frontage to support essentially 8 dwellings.
Correct.
Yeah.
Side setbacks were 10 feet, so it's just on one of the cabins, but they're still within the legal lot though.
Yep.
But just,
Yeah, nothing is over the lot lines.
Yep.
And it looks like if the scale was right, it's about maybe 90 feet, the ordinary high water mark to the. that one close.
Oh, to the nearest, yeah.
Yeah, to the nearest.
Yeah, all
cabin.
the setbacks.
Yeah, nothing's within the 75
In
percent.
the-
Yeah.
and Beanon Township, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You had no objection or no one in that said
No
nothing.
comment, yeah, correct.
No, I assume this is a general document plan to sketch things like that. Like I said, as long as we, if we were to approve, obviously the footprint would be the same. If it's 10 by 20 and it ends up 12 by 22, that's not written up that way.
Trying to pump the brakes with the architect just until we come in here and just really hammer down how we can go about it.
Understandable. Any other thoughts from the committee or questions or concerns on anything?
no, well,
Anyone? Yep.
I would make a motion to approve the variance. As in our staff comments, there would be 4 or 5 things that would be part of this approval. First one, the sanitary systems need to be installed for each cabin before they can used for human habitation. If the plan is to try to use some of the existing sanitary systems, then a sanitary system evaluation needs to be completed for each one by 12/1 of 2025, or before a land use permit can be issued, whichever occurs first. The sanitary system to be installed for the house before it can be used for a human habitation. If the plan is to try to use the existing sanitary system, then a sanitary system evaluation needs to be completed by 12/1 of 2025, or before a land use permit can be issued, whichever occurs first. The existing privy to be properly abandoned by 12/1 of 2025. The land use permits to be obtained prior to any of the construction and follow all the local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
Do we want to talk, and a lot of times we'll talk about the height, do you want to add that this is a one-story, being these are all. cute little
Yes, I think
cabins?
we should add that in, that these would be a one-story cabin.
With a loft on, small loft in the back half.
So it would be like an A-frame cabin.
Correct.
So it would just be a partial loft. It wouldn't be 2 stories. The roof would come down to like, say, 8 or 9 feet.
Correct.
And then you'd have a stairway going and it would be like an attic truss situation.
Bonus room truss.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like an A-frame style truss, half of it, and that would just be one sleeping headquarters.
Okay.
That's it, bathroom.
Okay, so it'd be an 8-foot wall with just a attic truss. We'll call it an attic truss or a A-frame truss on top of it. Is that correct? Is that,
We actually have 4 12-foot sidewalls on the floor to be rebuilt. And then that attic truss just on the back side, but that would continue that bulk throughout the whole cabin.
so it'd be a 12-foot wall?
12-foot sidewall with a lot.
Okay,
Do you know the total height that you're looking for? Code usually requires 35, but when we're granting an existing structure that has these just small,
right,
'cause those roofs were maybe a 312 pitch, if,
3 or 4. Yeah.
you know, so at 8 foot, you're talking, the existing structures are 14 feet high.
There would probably be
max.
12 and 12, it's probably 24, I would say it'd be 24 feet. If you got a 12-foot sidewall, and probably from this floor of the second floor, you'd be about 12 foot high. That would be, so we'll say keep it under 24 feet.
Okay.
Well, the condition would be 12-foot sidewall with attic or A-frame truss, no taller than 24 feet.
I think that'll make it, I mean, I really do, it's a 12-foot sidewall, put you put a floor system on there. That still gives you 12 feet to the peak.
Yeah, because our design is to have an 8-foot ceiling. We got 2x10 or 2x12 floor trusses, so now we're 9 foot. You lose it, you got an additional 3 feet, and then you start your roof line with your truss. So once you're up in the attic space, you got 3 foot of sidewall and then your truss, just to clear that.
Yeah. So I think you'd be in there. Well, there's the draftsman.
It's a picture.
Well, you know, I just wanted to bring it up, because we do talk about it, said if we're grandfathering the same
Yes,
type of
yes.
structures and looks, you know, we always do, you know, the height is 35 anywhere.
So the three cabins though would be remaining the same, 8 foot or 7 foot wall, what's there, that you're just rebuilding, new roof. It'd be
Just the log ones are getting
Just the log ones, so, yep.
this time.
Everything else is, we can fall within that 50%.
Okay.
Jason, would you be able to interpret that on which ones it applies to? Okay. I can.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty obvious which ones are just ready to pull
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, I think it's the 4 that are right in the line
Front.
there. So not the very close one to the lake, but those next 4 in a row there are the log ones.
That's the way I.
You have a motion by Peterson, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Schmidt with the, I think that was 5 conditions?
Six.
6 conditions total? Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries to approve variance 2508 Nature North Holdings LLC. Congratulations, thank you. At this time, we'll call variance 2509 Schwab to leave a greenhouse and a carport which were constructed without a land use permit, which doesn't meet the required side and or road side setbacks.
And I must accuse myself.
I never get to do
Good evening. First, I've got 3 points. first accommodation.
Can you introduce
My
yourself,
name is Dick
please, sir?
Flora. Catherine and I encountered a number of members of the Board of Adjustment coming out and looking at the property, and we really felt that was important. Not only just looking at it on paper, but coming out and looking at it. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking the time. The shop, with the carport addition, this spring I added a sugar shack on front. It was 8 by 10, didn't require a building permit because of the under 100 square feet. And then I bought a Chevy Volt and needed a carport, and so I came to the county and they said, the total's gonna be more than 100 square feet, you gotta get a building permit. So I got a building permit, and in the process, they discovered that my carport was gonna encroach on the setback. And then through that analysis, they also determined that the greenhouse I built in 2018 also encroached on setbacks. And so that's what we're here, because I've got the carport where I applied for a building permit and determined that it was in the setback area. And then a greenhouse that I built in 2019, and we moved up from Iowa, and in Iowa, high tunnels greenhouses weren't considered permanent structures, and so I didn't think I needed a building permit, but it up here, I think it's considered a permanent structure, so even though it won't last forever. And so one last point, at one point I thought I should bring you all zucchini out of my greenhouse, but then Catherine reminded me that when I drive by in the summertime with my gator ready to pass out zucchini, people pull down the shades and lock their doors, and so I decided not to bring it. Questions?
What is the floor on that green?
Sure.
It is just.
Yeah, it's a growing surface.
So how many gallons did you do this year?
Of maple syrup, a good year, 24 gallons. Yeah, I'm a hobbyist, but I got an RO system, and boy, that makes the boiling time go a lot.
Yep.
So 24 gallons, and we don't sell it, we just give it to friends. I could have brought you maple syrup too, but no, that would
That'd be a flag.
This isn't going well. Zucchini and no maple syrup.
stay there.
So,
That's a fun one.
Claire, anything you want to add, or?
No, Roger did a great job in staff comments. I read them, and I think the only issue we're gonna have, if you were to approve it, is what we're doing about impervious surfaces, because as you pointed out earlier, with the gravel roadway, I'm at 17% impervious surfaces. Without the gravel roadway, with the shared roadway, I'm at 12%. And the water actually comes to, if you drove by, you saw that area, the rain garden area, and that really works well. Take the water that comes down the hills and cools it, but then put a little bit of the fan. And we had Boston Lake Greenhouse come out and build that rain garden, and it works beautifully to not rush the water to the lake, but roll through the sand.
Yeah, they really do.
Oh, they, a beautiful thing. Simple, but work.
Well, if not, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just chime in real
Yep.
quick on the
Sure.
mitigation stuff. So that parcel is enrolled in the shoreline incentive program. That's the thing when they get the 50
Yep.
bucks. So just by being in that, he gets 2 points. So he would meet
Meets the 15 to 17.
meets the 15 to 28% impervious. So you wouldn't even have to do anything. So.
Not forget. At this time, we're opening the public hearing. I said it in my mind, but I didn't say it out loud. Any comments from the public? Any written correspondence or letters that may be? Yep, Mark.
Mark Krause, we did the site work on the property, and it's a pretty unique property. The issue with the road was because this is the corner of the property between 3 previous landowners, Hopkins, Flagstead, and Spafford. And you can see the lot line jogs there when it goes, where the road goes. The whole reason for that is because of the ownership. When you came out there, if you saw us, when you went straight ahead on the town road, there used to be a gate there. And that's where all the access to that property was. And so when the property owners lines got defined, they found the government lot line was closer to the lake where it is here by the greenhouse. And so they had to make the road go around that location instead of the other one. And so that's one of the reasons that this is kind of the access is kind of configured up differently. And as you noticed, he said there was a, real good rain garden there. There's also a good pothole right on the north side of the road there that catches any of the hillside runoff there too, and it's just natural sand. And if you look at the property further, being Hopkins as they were an excavator, I think all the land from the property to the north was pushed in there. I think quite a bit of that was level. And I'm sure most of his yard is sand and won't grow much for grass other than, so the rainwater will soak in there very readily. So I don't think it would ever get to the lake. So that's just my comments on. Carport has the same impervious surface amount as what the concrete would have had also. So there's really no difference on coverage there. So just so that.
No, thank you, Mark. Very well.
Thank you.
There's a letter in your packet from the neighbor to the north saying they have no issue with the variance.
Any other public comments? If not, I will close the public hearing. This time the committee will deliberate amongst ourselves and come to a consensus.
Well, to say it's a unique piece of property is an understatement, you know.
Correct.
Well, it was a nice. Way of that driveway coming across.
From what I saw, I think they're a very good steward of the land, but the rain guards, that was, and they're in the shoreline protect restoration, the shoreline
Incentive program.
incentive program already. They did that on their own. The greenhouse is right. It's not gonna be there forever. It's not it's a permanent structure, yes, but is it a permanent structure? Yes. When you put poly sheeting on metal frame on a dirt floor, I don't consider that a permanent
What's the
structure.
legal definition, but.
I know.
That's exactly, but.
Is that all they're growing in there? Yeah.
And
I'm sure that too.
anybody that's in the maple syrup business would know that you need a little cover when you're gonna do maple syrup, because it does rain. When you
Yeah.
boil, about the time you're gonna boil, you're gonna get it down.
Don't have a choice. No, and it's another just classic, private drive anyways,
Right.
allotted.
Exactly, private drive.
You drive down and you see, and it's more common than not, and stuff is closer than it should be on that, and it doesn't, to me, impair any travelability or safety for emergency vehicles or anything down there.
You couldn't drive fast past there if you wanted.
No, you could not, and
Not unless you wanna be in the carport.
you don't go back out onto the road to get your car going. You can turn around and go out there frontward so you can see both ways.
How many people live past you? How many houses? There's 4 more.
2, 1 permanent and 3 season.
I don't have any further questions,
I
any
don't.
concerns by committee members.
I would make a motion to move a variant 5-09 Schwab. 3 items of note. Need to do mitigation, but that's been taken care of to, for the 15% impervious area. Land use permits to be obtained for the carport and greenhouse by 10/1/2025. Follow all local, state, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity, which pretty much has been taken care of.
Motion by Daniels, do I have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Campion. Any other discussion on variance 2509 Schwab with the 3 staff comment conditions listed? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
At this time, we will call variance 2510 Anderson to leave retaining walls and a patio which were constructed without land use permits, which do not meet the road required setback and or are partially within the road right of way, and to place a gazebo within the road setback.
Hi, my name is Josh Anderson. I acquired this property from my father. My grandfather was the one that built the property back in the seventies. There was already pre-existing retaining walls there. I had called Voyager and asked if I was okay to replace the retaining walls. They told me yes. They also told me to talk to Jackson Township, the highway department there, and which I did. Ended up finding out after everything was constructed that I was not supposed to do any of it without permits. So right off the bat, that was totally my fault. Like, I was just going off of what I was told. I made a big mistake. But anybody that's seen the property from what it was to where it is now, I've tried my best to make that place look amazing. And we're just trying to retain the soil there. Every time it rains, it goes right across 3 Mile Road. Jackson Township has to send out equipment to clean the roads every time there. So that was my main goal, was soil retention there and stop everything from washing away across the road there. Other than that, it's a big mistake on my end, and I apologize. But I trying to make it right and trying to see what I can do to make it okay. So.
There's nothing about impervious on the map. That's not even in contention on this.
Cause he's not a riparian parcel, so
Yep.
there's no impervious area.
Yeah, I'm saying I was a little confused when I saw the property and look at the picture. I'm like, what, is this in the wrong file? It does not look like- Is that a great spot? Looks way better.
That's from my grandpa had that place, and my parents my dad was in the hospital for the last 8 years, basically, and it got pretty run down. Pretty overgrown. It was looking like crap. And once my dad passed away last year, I kind of took over and started rebuilding all the retaining walls there. And trying to make the place look a lot better, because the retaining walls were collapsing down. They were coming into the porch. Everything was washing away to the front door. So that's why we went ahead and put those retaining walls up, and thought I did it the right way, but I guess I didn't, so. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I don't know, we've been to 2 lots.
Yeah, I think my dad ended up getting that other lot,
Is that north?
would be just to the north.
Yeah.
On
Where
Redwood
the
Trail,
garage is there.
where the garage is there. I think my dad probably purchased that lot in maybe like 2003 range, somewhere right there next door. We've had the cabin since 76, I think it was. I don't know, grandpa was in it before, so.
Anything further? If not, we'll.
I do have one question.
Certainly.
I see in the staff comments, it says it's unfortunate to see that this gazebo has been placed already before the variance decision. So you knew that you didn't have a permit and you applied for a variance, but you still put the gazebo in?
So I had the frame of the gazebo in my garage. We always have a big group of people that come up on the 4th of July. And I was watching the weather knowing it was gonna rain, so I threw the top on the gazebo. It's just bolted down on the 4 corners. And I just had set it in place just because I have 20 people that are normally up there on the 4th of July. And that's a smaller cabin with all the rain and everything. I just wanted a spot for people to be able to get out of the rain here this past weekend. Again, that was the best idea.
Thank you.
This time we'll open the public hearing to variance 2510 Anderson. Any public comments from?
This Mark
Mark.
Wagner surveying. Basically, we did the locations and so forth out there. We didn't put impervious on there because it's not required. So it's not a lakeshore property, but everything is dimensioned on there. So it's scale. So if there's any questions, there is a lot of work done out there, but if you've been around the Voyager properties in the sand country up there, all those gravel roads and stuff, there's washes on all of them, especially if you get the rain like you had this weekend. And so I think that's why the town is very supportive on that as far as erosion control, because the water is running down the hill or, you know, watching those directions, it's very hard to retain that sand up there to get anything to grow. So that's, whether it's better to be rocks or be sand or, you know, it's hard to tell what's the better problem.
Any other public comments?
Now I'm with Voyager Village, and back in
State your
twenty-four,
name, please.
my name is Earl Shank. I'm on A&E committee up at Voyager Village. We look at building plans to be sure the setbacks are right. We never seen a building permit or asked for one. And according to the picture that we took off your website, there was no retaining walls at that time. They are over into the setback of the township. And then there was an addition put onto that building, and we never seen a building permit for that with a deck that walked around on it. I understand about the erosion, but all the retaining wall in 24 of December 24, there was no retaining walls on that piece of property at all. I have a picture here. You probably have the same ones.
So I live around the corner. I run by that and bike by that a couple times a week, and that retaining wall, there was a wood.
Yep.
The landscape timber retaining wall, and there was a square body Chevy parked up there for
No,
25 years.
but this picture didn't show it.
No, it was in the woods, it was under the trees, yeah.
There was, there were several trees cleared out of the way to put the retaining wall that's there now, that had no land use permit, and then the addition on the house. We never got one through Voyager Village, so we could see the setback. I'm not 100% sure whether Burnett County, Jason might know that, whether there was a permit put in for that. And then a deck was also added to it at the same time. These pictures were, some of these pictures is ones that we took. We go around and inspect properties. We try to do it on a weekly, but we're volunteers. Jason knows, he come to a couple of them with us, so we have a bunch of questions and he helped us out with some of them, but we can't get to all of them. And for volunteers to go around to look at what's being done, and hope that everybody has pulled a land use permit. We are a fairly large community, and we try to keep in touch or keep close track of what's going on. And we tried calling several times and are sending letters out. We had sent letters out asking for a drawing of what was going and where it was going to be, and be sure the setbacks were right, and we never received that. And now we're here asking, well, now they're asking for an easement to allow it to still stay there.
Thank you. We might get to you later.
Sorry, can I ask a question? This is public comment, so right?
Correct.
Okay, so I can, I'm Becky Strable, sorry. Anyway, I was just curious, so does Voyager Village require their own permits in addition to the county? Is that what he's trying to say, or?
Yes. Yes, they'll submit, people will submit a drawing to us. We'll look at it and allow it, if the setbacks are right, we'll sign off on it saying pending land use permit from Burnett County. And then when they get it from Burnett County, they bring it back to us and show us, and it's a go.
Yeah, we are not Voyager Village. We're here.
Oh, and it was just,
Permit for that. We don't have any jurisdiction to say
I was
what.
just
yep.
curious then if that's what he was implying, or if he meant the county permit.
Yeah, in a sense, that's a secondary issue between the landowner
Yeah.
and Voyager Village. We're here looking at a request for what's done for the county of Burnett that is applicable. That would be worked out between them, and maybe then, our decision could have some impact on that, but that's what's there. So cool. And that doesn't, this happens more often than not with Voyager. It's a big community, like you said, and a lot of people do a lot of things that is hard to say, so. Cool. Any other public comments? If not, I will close the public hearing. And we'll deliberate amongst ourselves. All right, it's 2510 Anderson.
So you should have two letters in there from the town of Jackson Highway Department.
Yep.
Those one talked about vegetation, so I asked for a little more clarity, and then there was a second one. Well, it talks about the lock and retaining walls.
Question for you, Jason, the letter from the town, is that something that's typically done? Have you seen that before?
Well, I reached out to the town on this case because it's rare that stuff is actually ever in the road right away. Usually we're dealing with setbacks where it's still
Correct.
not in the right of way. It's just within the setback area. So this one I wanted to reach out to the town of Jackson because I know that you recall from memory, the town of Jackson, I think, had two other road disputes in the last 10 years or so. So I wanted some clarity that we're all good with this.
And is your department happy with a letter like this as far as liability and?
No.
Okay.
It's more of a liability, I think, for the township.
Yep.
Than it is for the county, and it's their road that they have to maintain, so if something happens on that road.
And both letters were in agreement or in discussion from the local authority.
I have a question for Mark. The 66-foot right of way, the dark line, is that also the property line?
Yes. Township owns all the roads, they're all platted, so and they've been accepted by the public or whatever, so they're all owned by the town of Jackson, so that property line and the right of way are the same.
Okay. So a little bit of that north end is actually off the property.
Yes.
Okay.
Of the boulder retaining wall and of
Well,
the
the-
actual block.
On the north end,
Yeah,
on the north end. By the
the
garage,
rock.
yeah, the end of.
Was that
There's-
already removed?
There's
actually?
boulders up on the north end and
There was a skid, I mean,
I moved the boulders actually just the other day.
looks like there's about 4 foot that was taken
I
off of it.
pushed those back to that property stake.
And then you'll see a little bit,
The 3-4-4-2 retaining wall in the middle of the.
yep, there's a little bit of retaining wall in the middle, that's over the line. A little square thing
Yep.
with the line, and then you go further south and a little bit of rock down there as well, so.
Yeah, our picture was from we did our field work on 428. To
Yep.
get the application in by the 15th of May, so.
Correct.
It's been a while since we've been out there.
Where's the gazebo sitting?
Right by the front door of the cabin.
Isn't it over the concrete patio, right?
And where that little bump out is to the east.
For the grill.
Yeah, I think
area.
that spot, yep.
Was there a screen porch on there before, on the roadside?
That was a screen porch years and years ago, and then it was a 4-season porch.
Okay.
That wraparound deck has been there since I was born.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns from committee members? Any clarification needed on anything?
I think looking at the site map, it looks. You look at it and go, wow, he built right up to the edge of everything. When you go out there on the Red Wing side, there's 3 or 4 foot high berm. It pretty well protects it from, I'm thinking road safety. If you were to drive into this thing, you'd have to drive over that berm to get to the patio. On the Red Wing Trailway side.
Yeah, that retaining wall basically.
Yeah, it's a
is
reverse
safety.
retaining wall, yeah,
No.
it's. Pretty, it pretty well blocks any and there's trees on top of it too. On the 3 Mile side is the only thing I can think of might be a safety issue. I know people fly by there.
How many feet is that single car garage door off of 3 Mile Road? It's quite a distance, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, on that.
But,
Everything's in the lot line on that. I mean, there's
yeah,
that little circle of the bottom of the steps is
correct,
in, over the lot line.
correct. And so even, I'm saying is that even that
Yep.
side's not.
Yep.
Just looking at the map, you think it looks pretty egregious, but when you get there, it's not as bad as the map makes you think it would be.
That's, you know, being on site, that was when I got back and looked at it again, I was like, I didn't see the pillars but it blended in from the road really well. I did.
It wasn't in as bad a shape as the resort people over here. It was pretty rough, no offense.
I know.
You've done a heck of a job cleaning it up.
Give you a perspective, that's why we put the pavement edge on there and the gravel edge there.
Yep.
That's the curb line, kind of show you where the pavement actually is, so it's just a little bit perspective. How much space there is between the driving portion of the road and the top of the road.
About how much is that, Mark? From
Yes, the road is
from the paving to the lot line?
Looks like
That's
it's
the
14.
22 feet wide, so center that in a 66-foot road right away, you're gonna be,
13.
pavement's 10 or 11
20.
feet, so 22 feet probably.
So if I put the scale on it, it's 24 from the edge of the pavement
To the lot
to the
line,
line. Yeah,
pretty close. It's pretty parallel too, for the most part.
I'm kind of measuring, yeah, right by
Correct.
where the house is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's honestly one that really threw my brain looking at the aerial of the plan.
Yeah.
And then being on
Yeah.
the site, looking at that, I was like, is that, again, it's, yeah.
That's why we have to do on site.
Yep, it is. It looks much worse on paper than it does. That's
The other way. Usually.
It is, yep, yep. This is here, so it's interesting.
Jason, you sent this letter in November about the fact that fees are doubled and
Yep,
so well aware of all that.
yep. And then Mark's pretty slow, so it takes a while for him to get all the survey work done all the time, so. No,
If you guys take some months off in the winter.
I know. Months off in the winter.
Does. Any other questions, concerns, comments by committee before we maybe entertain a motion? We can talk about staff requirements.
So Jason, would he need permits for the deck and porch rebuild?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have in the staff notes about combining the lots into one. Curious as to what that's about.
Well, usually we require when structures and items go over the lot lines and when a parcel's being treated essentially as one entity.
Okay.
It should get the lots combined and in Voyager or any CSM or plat, you have to do a CSM to combine them.
Okay.
Right, I mean, Mark's already done essentially all the field work, so it's a matter of putting it on the correct size paper. You know, doing a few minor adjustments, so I don't think that's a huge hurdle.
Everyone fine with the 3-step test? Unique property limitations, no harm to public interest or unnecessary hardship. Any opposition to that? Not to entertain a motion. Further comments or questions?
So I guess I'll just make a comment real quick. Number 4 that I had on there for staff comments.
That's
Need verification by 9/1/25 that town Jackson is okay with the walls, rocks, boulders within the road right away. My staff report was written prior to
Correct, yep.
giving that letter. So, good, remove that one if you wanted to.
Okay, so with the screen porch rebuild and the deck rebuild that you talked about, that would be a permit from you.
Yep, and that has nothing to do with the variance.
So it has nothing to do with this.
Nope, that can be permitted. Yep. Going through the process, so.
Is that number 3 on the list? Or is that other items?
Well, for all items, so essentially, yeah, that's the work that was done to the house and then the patio and the retaining walls.
As well as the buildings? Okay.
Yep.
Could include that if we wanted
Yep.
or not, okay.
The two things in the variance that's requested is the boulders, and is it part of the retaining wall that's there? Or just the boulder retaining wall?
Well, essentially, I'm looking at the boulders, the retaining walls and the patio,
Correct.
fire pit stuff, that's all within the setbacks.
Because the road goes to the lot line, you know?
Yeah, so the setbacks are 30 feet from the property line is where the retaining walls and the patio and all that stuff's supposed to stop.
Yeah, 30-foot right away, which is basically the deck edge. The house.
Yeah, the house was really built after the set.
Probably been the same setback from probably when the house was built. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's been 30 foot's been the right of way
30
town
feet.
road, right of way setback for decades and decades.
Mhm.
So.
Were there any separate issues with the concrete and yard work, patio stuff versus the actual gazebo itself? As far as having. I'm just thinking like,
Everything's within the 30 feet.
but I mean, I'm like,
Yep.
more on a visual side where when you drive by, you don't even really notice the patio up on top. It's kind of hidden behind that retaining wall, the road. That's.
Get
It's
the
almost,
elevation there.
it's almost hidden. Whereas the gazebo is a lot more in your face. Is there any discussion on one being worse than the other or history of that or?
Well, you can look at the gazebo, even though patio is a structure, the gazebo's, horizontal, vertical, I mean. Retaining walls tend to blend into the nature of the landscape and you don't see that the structures are buildings. It's a building within that 30-foot versus a retaining wall for runoff or whatever it may be, is I guess a better way to think about it is what you maybe saying.
Yeah.
I feel a letter from the town of Jackson, and they're saying that, hey, we don't have a problem with this whatsoever. Because it must have been a sand falling down in there. You said you ride by.
Always, it's always a mess.
And they did say if there is a problem in the future, that there might be a reassessment done on that. If there is, a problem with the retaining walls on their letter. I mean, they're the ones that have to really maintain that. And like you said, we have room, we have a lot of trees on roads much closer than this. I mean, so
Yeah.
it is a problem, but if people are gonna run off the road, they just as soon gonna hit a tree as they're gonna hit this.
Yeah, yeah.
In many, many places. I think that's what the letter that sold to me was from the township that has to maintain the road. That being said, I would make a motion to approve this variance. With those three, the three items, we crossed one off. We need a certified survey map completed by 12/1/25. Complying the two lots into one. The sanitary system needs to be serviced, maintained, and reported to the county by 12/1/25. And the land use permits need to be obtained for all the items that have been built or rebuilt without a permit by 12/1/25.
And then don't forget the next one on the next page, which is the standard, all of the local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Peterson with 4 requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Campion. Any other discussion on variance 2510 Anderson to leave retaining walls patio that were constructed without permits that don't meet the road setback? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to approve variance 2510. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. You do a very good job.
This time we'll review and sign last month's documents. I think we only had a couple, right? 1, 3 of them, 3? 1, 3, all the same.
And I don't know how we're gonna have, Kathy wasn't here, do you still wanna sign those? You are the secretary, I guess. That was the garage up in Blaine, that was too close to the lot line. He built. This is the one in Trade Lake, the laundry list of things. Yeah. They. They reached out, well, they tried to reach out to Emily. Emily just came back today as her first day back from maternity leave, so.
Congratulations.
Valerie, you guys got a long list of things to,
Finish.
and that third one, I can't remember what that one was. Doesn't look good.
Yeah,
Powell,
Well, that's the garage on 70 on Viola Lake.
land use permits, overhead garage doors on the north side. lot
Garage road.
control.
Mhm.
What did you say about the guy? That's that had all this stuff up in this. But we talked to you.
He reached out to Emily to try to meet and set up, see what he's gotta do for vegetation and all that, so. So he did that within like a couple days of the meeting, so, but then we just had to say, hey, Emily's out till July 7th, so. Don't worry about it for until now, so she can get back, start getting back to everybody.
Well, it's 7 o'clock, we will adjourn on the hour.
that was a good catch on the two points. That guy already